Hi, I'm Leigh Pafford, and every week this summer I'm reviewing a book from our local library and letting you know what I thought. We've gone through several topics this summer: murder, time travel, brain injuries, and now we're talking about God. This week I took a viewer's suggestion and read The Shack by Canadian Christian author William P. Young. This book came out several years ago, so you should be able to find a copy at the library even if you decide to pick it up today. I was really looking forward to reading this book. Several people in my circle have been suggesting it to me for years, and it wasn't until now that I finally carved out the time to read it. The book tells the story of a fictional character named Mac Phillips who grew up with an abusive father in a deeply religious family. I say that with a hint of sarcasm because I don't believe it's very Christian to beat your children. In the novel, Mac tells a story about his alcoholic father's verbal abuse towards his mother. Mac felt safe in sharing this story during a church youth outing. Apparently, his secret was not safe. The story made it back to Mac's dad, who retaliated against him by tying him to a tree and beating him for a week. This made Mac decide to run away and never see his family again. He ended up working small jobs here and there and eventually meeting a nice girl. The two married and had several children. They settled in the Northwest and enjoyed spending time together, camping, playing games, just about anything they could do as a family. It's clear that the family is religious and that it is pushed mostly by Mac's wife, Nan, who is so close to God, she refers to him as Papa. Mac's relationship with God is marred because of the way he was treated by his father and because of the terrible murder of Mac's youngest daughter. On a family camping trip, Mac's youngest daughter was kidnapped by an unknown assailant who sexually abused her before murdering her. She was only 6 years old. Why would a God who is good allow such horrible things to happen? The murderer was never caught, and several other girls were murdered before and after Mac's daughter. The crime took place in a shack deep in the woods. Years after the crime, Mac gets an unpostmarked letter inviting him back to the shack for a weekend. It was signed Papa. Mac was concerned. Is this from his father, who's passed away, from his daughter's murderer, or could it be directly from God? Curiosity caused Mac to pack up and head out to the shack. At the shack, Mac takes a journey where he meets God, Jesus, and the Holy Spirit. During his weekend, the book addresses questions that I'm sure we've all had, whether we're Christians or not. Questions like, why do bad things happen to innocent people? Why does God intervene? Why doesn't he intervene and stop terrible things from happening in the first place? One of my favorite questions was, why did God make poisonous plants? I'll compare the book to a submission to a high school lit mag. The author's flowery descriptions of what the Holy Trinity looked like, what they could see and so forth, were really over the top. I imagine my high school English teacher taking a red pen and crossing out many of the descriptors. I also found the book very tough to get through. It was almost as if it was written for a young adult audience. Mac would be asked a question to God, God would explain it, or Jesus, or the Holy Spirit, whomever he was speaking to, and Mac wouldn't be sure if he got it, so he'd summarize it and ask God, is this it? And God would say, literally, good job, Mac. I mean, come on. The idea behind the book was nice, but it didn't answer any of my questions regarding why God does what he does, or she does what she does. I also didn't like the idea that God did everything right and we as humans messed everything up and God couldn't fix it because it wasn't fair to give us the freedom to make our own decisions and then take that away, so now we have to suffer consequences. Don't let my opinion sway you. Pick up the book and see what you think. You can join in the conversation on Facebook. Next week we'll be reading White Girl Problems by Babe Walker. Tune in to see what makes it on Leigh's library list.